All right, guys. Good morning. It's a Friday edition of Good Stuff. We got a full house today. Big Friday. Dan's on the call. Zach's here. Nick is here. Eric is somewhere in the background. And we have my baby, little Jackson.
Hey, my baby.
She. Jackson's a she. I get that all the time. What's up, guys?
What's going on?
Good morning. Happy May the 1st.
Good morning.
Hey, Jackson.
It's not Jackson, though. Well, cool. How's everybody?
Doing well. I slept terribly last night, but other than that, I'm good.
Good.
Right on.
My Whoop says I'm only 36% recovered.
You got to get back to bed then.
I take that as a day off. That's a rest day.
Yesterday, I was 26% recovered, and I had a day of 16 strain. It was can't stop the training, Dan. Can't stop this.
I don't know what any of that means.
You just refuel and recaffeinate. That's what it is.
It means I worked out 3 times, and I shouldn't have.
Remember that conversation we just had, Dan?
Exactly. Listen to the data.
I'm not letting my phone tell me what I can and cannot do. Screw that.
Exact Forrest Lee.
That joke on point. Well, cool. So we just released a new edition of the Good Stuff newsletter. So a lot of good stuff in there. One article that I think we should talk about, I think it's pretty cool, was published by Inc.com. And the article was 5 small business trends to pay attention to in 2020. I don't know how relevant this might be if in mid coronavirus pandemic, but let's chat on it. So first topic or first trend is employee health and wellness must become a priority. I think we all know that.
Yeah, that actually is extremely relevant, I think, in the midst of the pandemic. It's probably the major one, though. So I think what we're going to start to see, especially with the shift in the workforce taking place to younger generations, is that they want to work at places that feel like have their backs, that take care of them. And I think money, while still important, is not going to be as leveraged in gaining a workforce. So that's how I look at it as a business owner. I think it just matters more to people, especially the coming younger generations. I could be completely off, though. I'm not really in touch with my Gen Z constituents.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I would actually agree with that. In larger corporations, they're very much metric driven, very much in tune with their KPIs, and it's pretty much do anything and everything to hit these because we cannot let down quarterly earnings. So hit your monthly numbers so the quarterly numbers are accurate. And the unfortunate byproduct is the focus on employee wellness. So if that doesn't change, I think you're going to find a lot of the younger generation that says, like, sorry, I think we've just gone through something that proves that this needs to be a priority.
Yeah, I think that was pretty much a gimme for us. Well, cool. Let's move on to the second one, which was AI will continue to change the business world.
I'm going to jump in and say pretty much everything on this list is stuff that I think was a trend anyways. And what COVID's done is it's just massively accelerated a lot of trends. What I'm surprised isn't on this list is about remote workforces, though. But yeah, AI has already been changing the world, like calculating metrics, helping you make decisions, putting decisions in front of you. Like all of these things are data-driven aspects that have been changing the world to begin with. It just hasn't trickled down far enough into every aspect of the economy yet, right?
It's slowly coming. Like,
yeah,
we talked about it yesterday with, we saw that C2 integration. I think that kind of the C2 integration with like an online timer video thing, which kind of lays on a foundation to be able to integrate like your health kit on your phone and display it somewhere, or that's no different than like the Whoop, where it's constantly tracking information. It's not maybe, I don't know the technology behind it, if it is constantly learning or if it's based on a baseline. But if anything, it's giving us information to help guide, our behavior and our habits.
Yeah, I hate the fact that they use the term AI, because I really don't think we've actually created AI. But what I think it's referring to is like the ability to automate certain tasks and use programs to replace, what is it, repetitive and menial tasks that are performed by humans. And I think that actually plays into what Dan said about having a remote workforce. So I mean, it depends on the business type, but that like if a computer can do like, let's think of some things that were some businesses that are getting massively overhauled by the usage of AI or these programs.
Accounting and finance softwares for sure.
Well, anything so anything to do with numbers, really, right? Is that what you're like?
Yeah, I mean, I even see
data
it.
Entry.
I see it in the appraisal side. You know, my wife's work. Obviously, there's a ton that can be. It's not necessarily AI driven, but it's definitely automated and cuts down on their functions and their hourly actual crunch.
But then there are even things like cashiers at McDonald's or Starbucks, or where like things like that. Or do you think it's feasible that a computer will be able to do what a trainer or coach will be able to do?
No.
That's a long ways out. I mean, technology is.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to be able to replace the eye, literally the eye,
and the brain,
with the ability to communicate the error. I mean, if we stay in the coaching realm,
but
right?
There are, I mean, like I think it's tonal.
I mean, Tesla can now read stop signs and stoplights. So
I think companies making a stab at it.
Yeah, in the long run, I think
for sure.
In the long run, I think that's absolutely going to be possible, but it's going to take a long time because you've got to be able to understand, like, you know, bone ratios and movement patterns and weight distribute. You know, like things that we inherently can figure out. The computer's going to have to be programmed to figure out on a case by case.
I was going to say, like, I think a computer might actually recognize those things more readily.
Right. Yeah, because it will be mathematically driven based on movement patterns. The lack thereof in that is that you can't replace the human aspect, the actual empathetic coaching.
That's the only
mental
thing
coaching.
that I think. Yeah. The relationship and the
So the thing to remember about AI
for the mass population, it might be though.
The thing to remember about AI is it's going to go in stages, and like this first stage is like computer generated suggestions. Like we're never going to give the computer the ability to take the wheel until we feel comfortable with it. So the first version of these fitness apps might be like, hey, it looks like their weight might be too far forward, you know, and then as a human, you can see that and go like, oh yeah, it is. And then you tell them, right? Which will slowly take the skill out of the role, unfortunately.
And then you start merging in other data sources, right? Like your bicep strapped Whoop. It'll be like, oh, Zach's looking terrible today because he's at a recovery 16 level.
Computer doesn't know what the fuck it's talking about.
Adjust.
Sorry, I can't.
Adjust his percentages accordingly, right?
Yeah, basically taking the level method.
Yeah, I mean, there's
inside a robot.
And there is. I mean, as a matter of fact, there was a gentleman who just called 2 days ago that wants us to trial run. It's just an algorithm-based amount of programming based on all of your inputs, and you can hook up whatever tech you want, and it will spit out, you know, staying in the CrossFit lane, spit out constantly varied training based upon all these different metrics, you know, and it's done for you. So that's just the programming side. The coaching side is going to be very intriguing to watch.
But so we might not see it on the coaching side, but just to wrap up this section of the article, I think gym owners or fitness studio owners, yoga, whatever type of business it is, should look to incorporate as much quote unquote AI and automation in their back end systems as possible, because it's going to keep their costs down and it's going to allow them to get more work done cheaper, so that they can spend more time doing the coaching things.
Yep. Yeah. So that's an excellent point, Zach. Like what we have to remember is human time and human brain power is expensive. And the more things that you can put in front of you, that's kind of nudging you where to go or helping you guide you, you know, what decisions to make, the more you can scale your own capabilities.
Exactly.
Yep. Totally agree.
Cool. I think this third topic is, I think it's pretty fun. Mobile marketing will be used more creatively. Curious on how you guys take that in through the lens of I guess, our gyms and our businesses?
Well, I mean, I'll jump in and talk about this again. It's another topic that's, it's out there already. Mobile marketing is huge because what you've done is the mobile phone has basically created a captive audience at every place that you are in the world. You can be in line at Starbucks or in the bathroom and you become captive audience. So yeah, mobile marketing is just another play that you need to make. You need to be in front of people when they are consuming content or trying to be entertained or have their mind taken away for a second. And, as between SMS and push notifications and apps and social marketing, all these things are key to fitness businesses.
Yeah. I actually think that at some point you got to figure out a way to, like the creativeness will really come into how do you cut through all the noise now that everyone is clamoring to get into this thing that is in front of your eyes all the time. So when you've got a million messages coming through, how does your company stand out as the one that person pays attention to? That's, I think, where the creativity is going to have to come into play.
Exactly. So it's basically, how do you get to be one of the apps or notifications in the phone that is always taking priority for the customer?
Mm-hmm.
Like, everybody here has something that they probably check on a regular basis on their phone, whether that's email, a certain type of a certain newsletter, or like a YouTube notification or something like this. Companies will do better to latch onto those things that people are routinely checking out of habit or addiction. Hate to say it. Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun year for marketing for us, I think.
And I think that's outside the wheelhouse of a lot of small business owners, the marketing aspect. So they don't have marketing departments, and usually people that have a marketing background aren't necessarily in small business unless it's their own marketing business. So they need to read up, outsource. They need to learn about this.
Hey, speaking to that, what's one quick playbook or takeaway somebody can do right now to start using mobile marketing right away? I'll throw one in on my end, and that would be to do a help first or something that is of value to your audience or your potential customer live stream video once a day.
I like that.
Anyone have any other ideas? Something they can just start doing today with no skill.
Ooh.
With no skill, that's probably one of the first ones to do.
Right.
Yeah,
I would agree.
I would say just reverse engineer it. Where are your clients at? And go there. So don't just make a video, but where do your clients consume their content at? If all your clients are on TikTok, then to Dan's point, make a video, but the avenue should be TikTok.
Exactly.
Right. The medium.
Right.
I agree with that. Definitely.
And the same thing when sourcing, what is that content, right? So many folks would be quick to jump on and just make a video and start babbling, rather taking the moment or taking the time to, ask, what is it that you need from us today, and immediately develop the content within the next 24 hours. And maybe you can ask that at, like every Friday and have a Monday video, or every Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Super good point, Eric. Yeah.
Yep.
Ask your customers what, what questions they need answered, and then just start answering them on video.
Yep.
It's the easiest way.
Which is what I just did yesterday.
Shout out to Brandon over at Grapevine CrossFit. He goes on video every single day from the Grapevine page, and it's awesome. I watch almost every single one of them. I'm not even one of his members.
How long are the videos, by the way?
5 minutes, 10 minutes, just depends on the topic he's kind of jamming on. They're consumable. They're not bad.
Nice.
Consumable.
Cool. I think this next one might be a quick one. It's time to go cashless. Cashless gyms, cashless businesses. What do you guys think?
It's been way past time to go cashless.
Cash is especially in gyms.
Cash is the new checkbook. Yeah, like cash is the new checkbook. Like 5 years ago, like when someone would whip out the old checkbook at the grocery store, I'd be like, oh ridiculous. My gosh. Now I do the same thing for cash now.
Let me tell you guys a quick story. I owe like 3 or 4 doctor bills from earlier in this year that at this point I'm fucking refusing to pay because they won't let me pay by credit card over a website. They want me to send a fucking check in or call them, and I've tried calling and I've been on hold for 15 minutes and hung up. Like, or write down my credit card on a piece of paper and mail it to them. And I don't have stamps. I don't have checkbooks. And I've literally emailed them. I'm like, if you make it so fucking hard for me to pay you, then expect not to get paid. And it's like a $15 fucking bill. Like, I'm not going to jump through all these hoops to pay that. So like, I think the gym is the same. Like, make it easy for people to pay. I mean, I guess if you have a gym where people absolutely are dying to pay cash, then accept cash too on that same basis. But
Yeah, there's so
like,
much
if
more
someone's
benefit
trying to
too.
pay you, don't make them jump through hoops.
Yeah,
Fucking ridiculous.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we actually, a long time ago, funny enough, before we switched to push press, we actually did a discount to get everyone to put cards on file. Right? Because like, I think at that time, something like 60% of our members were paying in cash. So not only did we pay the fees, but we also discounted our rate. But we quit playing bill collector.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's like, and then we see people obviously who are obviously trying to decrease fees and nickel and dime their ways down. And you could obviously do that through cash.
It's your time, right? Like, how much is your
time
time worth? And then
It's
we
your
go back.
time,
We
it's your
go back to
staff's
that.
time.
Yeah, and then going back to that earlier point, it's like your time should be worth more than, like, you want to be using technology to save you time, not going backwards and, you know, neglecting technology and spending more time. So
Right. So make it easy on yourself, make it easy on your clients.
yeah, and focus on just growing your business.
Aren't businesses going to be restricted by the platform that they're using on the back end, by what type of payment they can accept? I'm not an expert in this. I'm legitimately asking. So it's like, if someone uses push press, for example, will they be able to accept all these different types of payments?
Yeah. So cards, absolutely. In the US, ACH, absolutely. In other countries, it just varies. And there are some countries that we're pretty straightforward and honest in, like, hey, we don't do SEPA in your country, and may not be a good fit. And like that's completely okay, because they need to roll out that convenience for their clients and for themselves. So it's just a matter of trying to find that balance. I think to Dan's point though, like, if you're a medical facility, like, figure out a way to take cards, like, in the US.
Yeah,
Like, the most prevalent payment method there is.
I don't think anybody would ever argue that, and unless you're a very specific type of business, that you should not take credit cards. This article, I think, was specifically speaking to things like Amazon Pay, PayPal, Google Pay, Apple Pay, or crypto.
Yep, that was Zach's next question: is does push press allow us to push through for crypto?
we thought about that a few years ago.
If it's
Yeah.
convenient
I
for the
only
user,
want to
but
be able to give you 0.0003% of a Bitcoin.
There's a handful of apparel stores and equipment stores that are moving towards accepting Coinbase.
Yep. So I think a lot of businesses will be restricted by whatever platform that they're using to run their commerce, their point of sales transactions, and they'll have to weigh, hey, here's my ability to offer these options to my customers with the functionality of the system. So
yeah, I mean, I think ultimately it's just make sure the
Be
payment
open
method is
to it.
convenient.
yeah,
Right
absolutely.
now, like Bitcoins and whatnot, those aren't real
I
currencies
still
that
have
people
never
can
used
actually use
anything
very
other than
easily.
cash or a card for anything.
You know how to write a check?
Oh, I've used a check.
I
Yeah,
have to
Yeah.
YouTube that.
I have. Yeah, I should have said that.
Well, that's something that's new, right? Like, I guess like there's a lot of people who just don't even know how to write checks. I guess if you maybe are like 18, is that something that you just don't learn anymore?
Dude, 18-year-olds are never going to use a checkbook.
Let's actually
Right?
jump into the next question, which kind of leads us to it. So the topic was younger consumers will declare World War Z.
Yeah. So that just basically means that that Gen Z, which is what, they were born past 2000. They're
95.
entering the workforce. Past 95. They now outnumber millennials.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, I've got youth athletes where normally it's the parents that are paying, but I got a handful of folks now that are like in junior college and college, and they're like, hey, can I just Venmo you my account fees? 5 years ago, that wouldn't have been a real thing.
Yeah. Venmo. Yeah, you're right.
So how does that
I
drive
think
businesses right now, or our businesses?
Well,
Yeah.
I think what we're seeing is a we're on the cusp of a generational shift, and that happens every 20 to 25 years. So 1995, beginning of Gen Z, we're seeing from 20 to 25 probably like a shift in the type of person that will be considered the largest consumer base or the largest spender demographic. So
let me read from this article, and I think as you're listening to this, frame this into terms of your gym. Based on my observations, Gen Z tends to want brands to be socially conscious. Members of Gen Z can be diverse and inclusive. They strive for learning opportunities. Even though they're notoriously tech savvy, they also treasure old-fashioned FaceTime with others. So, like, how does that play out in your gym? You know, what does that look like? These are things you need to consider.
Cool. So we're going to cash app our membership fees. We're going to market to them on TikTok, and we're going to dance together, right?
I mean, treasuring old-fashioned FaceTime's cool. Like, I think that's great for fitness businesses, especially community-based ones, right? They're tech savvy, so they want a high-tech experience. They want simplicity. They favor diversity and inclusion. So take that for what you will, right? And they want the companies they work with to be socially conscious. So give back to your community, be about the community, right? A lot of things that we're in line with is pretty good.
Yeah. Probably shows why the boutique fitness space is kind of continuing to do well.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I think Gen Z is kind of honestly driven that in a large part.
So that's definitely something that we all have to really identify for our businesses and kind of at least figure out what that looks like in terms of our business in the next couple of years.
Yeah, and it's up to each individual business owner. That's the purpose of articles like these, is to just get the creative mind working a little bit outside the box that a business owner may be used to being operating in. So we just want people to be aware of these trends and then think outside the box as to how they're going to affect, impact, implicate your business, and what you can do to either leverage it or navigate it. That's it.
There it is. That's a good breaking point there. So with that, what we'll do is we'll link the original article in the show notes under the video here. And I want you guys to let us know kind of how you see these trends, how they apply to your business. Curious to see what everyone's feedback is on that. With that, guys, it was a good discussion, good roundtable, fun discussion today. Make sure you like and subscribe to the video. If you're not on the newsletter, make sure you get on the newsletter. You can probably just email me, james@pushpress.com or zach@pushpress.com, and we'll get it to you guys. We'll have an easier way to do that next week. Cool. With that, guys, let's sign off. Thanks for hopping on, and everyone have a good weekend. Happy Friday, guys.
Absolutely. Happy Friday.
Happy May Day.
Friday, y'all. Yeah, May 1st. See y'all later.
Oof.